Well, hi, everybody. Thank you. That was great. Y'all did really good. Hey, Happy New Year. Man, y'all are on it. We made it, didn't we? We made it to 2026. Maremi is a painter exploring themes of feminism, social history, and women's history. She earned a BFA from Cornell University and an MFA from Clemson University. And she's been a part of numerous group and solo exhibitions. Her work is in many private and public collections. And since my time here at the Delaplane, this is her second solo exhibition. We're so glad to have Maremi back. Our second speaker is going to be Annie Boyer. Annie Boyer is a ceramic, fiber, and print artist. She's been working in these media for many years, but continues to return to fantasy creatures and imaginary plant life. Annie has a MFA in ceramics at Hood College here in Frederick, and has a master's degree from the Maryland Institute College of Art in Baltimore, and a BA in art studio from University of Maryland, College Park. Annie's a full-time high school ceramics teacher in Montgomery County in public schools, and she's taught in Frederick County Public Schools at Glen Echo Park, and she's also taught here at the Delaplane Art Center. And last but not least is Alfred Groff. Alfred grew up in Pine City, a small hamlet in the southern tier, New York. He began painting in oils at age 13 and went on to graduate from Hamilton College and Cornell Law School and practiced as an international corporate tax lawyer until 2016. Since retiring as a lawyer, he has pursued painting principally in the media of acrylics and ink on canvas. Alfred lives in Urbana with his wife Lynn and has 3 children and 3 grandchildren. Would you all welcome, as each of them comes up, make sure that you give them a round of applause, but would you welcome up first Maremi Andreozzi.
Room full of people. This is so fabulous. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Thank you for being here also because, it's been a pretty rough 12 hours in the U.S. world history, and art is a way of connecting us and sharing our humanity, and artists have always persevered in hard times, and they're the voice of us, the voice of people. So thank you very much for your attention also in this matter. The first painting I was going to talk about is the Edenton Tea Party, which is a painting about a group of women from Edenton, North Carolina, who in 1774 created a resolve, the Edenton Resolve, where 50 women, plus led by Penelope Baker, drafted a document basically saying that they would not support English tea and fabric. So it was, it's recognized as one of the first political movements by women. And I started this painting and I was thinking about women as revolutionaries, women as organizers in history, and how this happens, because I started a red, wine, and blue group in my Mount Vernon area this past year, and so we've been doing bridge brigades and doing a number of things, and this whole idea of how to get people to do things and how to inspire people has been something that's been very much on my mind. And Penelope Baker was a 46-year-old woman who had been twice widowed. Her third husband was a colonial agent and had been stuck overseas in England. He was stuck there for 17 years. And she managed to get 50 people to sign a piece of paper that said that they would do this boycott. And I was just amazed, and I'm interested, one of the things that I'm interested in is how we monument women and how we recognize them. And so in this piece, I have these little silhouette pieces, little profiles, and it almost becomes like a little bit of an endearment or little tokens or little portals for each one of these women. And I wanted them all to be recognized. And we do have their names because they signed their names to this resolve that was printed in newspapers up and down the East Coast. And then the newspaper actually went over to England and they created a satirical cartoon that depicted these women as lustful and bad mothers, and they were on the floor with their dogs, and it was this whole painting this picture of revolutionary women as uncivilized. And so that, of course, also got me very interested in highlighting this political activism by women. And so each of the names of the women are on the sides of the painting, and you can see that some of them are family groups, and we don't actually have pictures of these women. So one of the things that I do is I blacken their faces, and it's a way of acknowledging that we don't have an actual image of them, and you get to sort of create what they would look like in your head. And we're not looking at, they become the anonymous woman and also the every woman in a way. So this is the Edenton Tea Party. Okay, so this is a picture of Celeste, Marguerite Winans, who I have a number of women on my wall too that are sort of individual portraits of women. And they become almost like little jewels in a way, these portraits, something that you would carry, or like an endearment or a jewel. So I was very interested in portraying women from Maryland. So it's a whole series of women from Maryland. And Celeste is known as opening one of the first soup kitchens in Baltimore City. And she actually was born to Italian and and Russian parents, and married overseas in St. Petersburg, came over to Baltimore and ran this soup kitchen, which served between 800 and 4,000 meals a day. Unfortunately, she died in childbirth when she was 38. But the Baltimore Sun had a full-page obituary on the front page of acknowledging her work, and her husband continued on in the soup kitchen. And then the last picture I was going to talk about is one of the last pictures that I did for the show. It's the women of Hull House. And many of you are maybe familiar with Hull House in Chicago, but I've been very interested in this idea of social safety nets and how we got to this place where we have a juvenile justice system, how we have 8-hour workdays, how we have equal pay for women and men. So a lot of these social policies have been something that I think about in my work. And this kind of goes back to these women. Jane Addams, Ellen Gates Starr, Julia Lathrop, Florence Kelly, Alice Hamilton, and Mary Rosette Smith. These were the women in the early 20th century who really brought about this change. So a little, just a summation of it, because there are documentaries that go on and on about this, but Jane Addams and Ellen Gates Starr, inspired by a tenement house in London, started Hull House in Chicago, and it was a way for, in this part of Chicago, there were a lot of immigrants. It was a very industrial part of the city, and they saw a need for childcare, education, a cultural center, citizenship classes. There was a gymnasium there was a pool, there were libraries. So, and it was also a way for women who had recently graduated from college, who had gotten social degrees, to come and work and live with these immigrant communities. And it was sort of a groundbreaking way of looking at helping people. And many of these women started their careers there and then went off to become major secretaries and head policy throughout the U.S. Julia Lathrop was a child's rights advocate, so when you think about children in the labor force and how that stopped. And then she also helped with the juvenile justice system and making sure that 12-year-olds were not in the same jail cells as adults. Florence Kelly was a labor reform worker and also helped, making sure that factories and industrial sites were safe for workers. Alice Hamilton was an occupational and health specialist who did a lot of research on lead poisoning and these chemicals that were infecting people in the workforce. And she went on to become the first female professor at Harvard. And Mary Rosette Smith was a philanthropist who also helped with the music department and creating culture as an integral part of a community. What I was interested in this, in addition to the social policy, is how we create these monuments to people and how history, who authors history, who writes it, and how I feel it's really important to highlight these women who may not have been acknowledged during their lifetime to the extent that they should have. And let's see, how a network of people together feed each other and how they bring this courage that I think is so important in this time and age that we have. So thank you very much for your time, and I will let the next artist go on.
Alrighty, I'm Annie Boyer, and I have the small gallery upstairs. So hopefully you'll get a chance, if you haven't already, to go up and take a look after the talks. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about my show called Midnight at Kelly Pond. I put this in here because I didn't realize Corey was going to do such a good job introducing us. But the only thing I want to add is that I am a longtime Frederick County person. I live in Brunswick now, but I grew up outside of Walkersville in an area called Mount Pleasant. I don't know if anybody knows that area, but it's very integral in my work. It's actually really important because it's the setting of everything that I have been making. So I'm just wanted to throw that out there as well. So let's go ahead and talk about the show a little bit. So I've been deeply influenced by growing up in the woods. So a lot of people will say to me stuff like, oh, the woods is so magical, it's so beautiful, it's so peaceful. And yes, that is true. But as a child of the 1970s, we were just told to go out and play. And that meant go out and play in said woods. And it's also dark and scary, and things live there that sometimes are a little bit disconcerting. So that's kind of what I think about a lot when I'm creating my creatures. In my mind as a child, and I still have this a little bit, I always have this sense that when I'm in the woods that something's right there in my peripheral vision. Like I just missed it. Where is that thing? I know it's there kind of feeling. And that's what I've been trying to do for several years now, which is to kind of develop these characters or these creatures that explore this idea that they're living here with us as well. We just aren't quite quick enough to see them. So I grew up in the woods, like I said. It was just me and my sister outside till my mom rang the bell, and that meant come back in and eat dinner. And we would do a lot of stuff like turning over rocks and building out of sticks and things like that. Lots of cool critters were in the woods, but there was lots of snakes and poison ivy. So you can kind of understand, if you've looked at my work, where that kind of contradiction comes from. So let's see. I did write all this down because I always forget what I want to tell you all. So I've done 3 installations over the past 3 years. I was at Hood recently. I just got my MFA back in May. And so 2 of the shows that I did there were places from my childhood. So this particular one, Kelly Pond, there's a small pond near the property where we grew up, and you kind of access it on this little road, and it's completely isolated. Like you go in and you are just surrounded by woods and trees. And so we would go there quite a bit. We would fish. We had these bamboo poles that you just kind of threw it out there. It wasn't like a real fishing rod. But just this idea of this kind of like magical spot that we were in just ourselves. was where this Kelly pond came from. So this first guy is Sir Kelly. When you first walk into the gallery, Sir Kelly is sort of the MC of the show. When I first introduced him on Instagram, I played the song from Cabaret, because in my head he's like, welcome, come on in, if you dare. But as you can see, he's mostly ceramic. I do primarily work in ceramic now, but I also will work with whatever I need to get across what I'm trying to do. So his big mushroom hat is paper mache. Ceramic didn't stand up once I put that giant thing on his head, so then you had to kind of regroup a little bit. One of the things I did in this show too is I tried to create like a sense of the place. So on each pedestal I also painted like the base, so you kind of got the sense of where they actually are. So that's the first thing you see when you go in. This little group here, there's two sets set together, and this is called Hunt and Gather. And so one of the things I was thinking about is, what do these creatures actually do? If this is midnight at this pond, what are they doing at midnight? And then one of the thoughts I had was, of course, at midnight you're going to go out and collect up gems, because that's what you would do. So the ones on the right are collecting up all kinds of gemstones. The ones on the left are collecting up seed pods. So you can see by the one on the left, the caterpillar. I do a lot of functional work as well. I have two separate lines of work that I work on. And so every now and then I will flip back and forth between those two things. So that one acts as a vase as well as a sculpture. Primarily in this show, the work is sculptural, though. This one is called Alert, Alert. The idea being that they know you're coming, you've approached, they've spotted you, and they're on high alert. Are they going to sound an alarm, or are they going to run away? So there they are, trying to decide whether you're a friend or a foe. This piece is kind of the overall themed piece for the show. This is called Midnight at Kelly Pond, this particular piece. And you can see the giant papier-mâché crescent moon. There is a very large toad. Again, a lot of my work was based on stories from my childhood. So when we would go out and hunt for toads, my sister got this toad, honestly, it was like this big. I mean, this is a long time ago, but in my head it was that big. But she named it Peabody Toad Juice, as children will come up with these great names. And so that is Peabody Toad Juice there in the slide. And then surrounding him on the pond is lily pads, lots of little toads. He's kind of the king of the pond. And then I made a bunch of little bugs and stuff for them to feast on as well. So let's see. Then I have a wall kind of toward the right where I worked on a whole series of magical moths. I did a residency this summer at Watershed. See one of my friends back there. And one of the things I wanted to do was make a mold. I started getting into some mold making because when I was making all these repetitive things, it was taking a long time. So these were all made out of 3 molds. Once I molded them, then I changed them all so they're all distinctly different. But that was a big part of what I was working on. And you can see by looking at this too that, like I said, if I feel like it needs to be furry, I'm going to put fur on it. If I feel like it needs to have something tie-dyed or satin or fabric or something else, if I can't feel like I can make that with clay and feel successful with it, I will pull in that mixed media as well. This group is called Cloudland. So we have these big papier-mâché clouds. I do think it didn't photograph great, so I hope you will go upstairs and look at it. It's so white against white. But the idea of this one was this. When I was a kid, I was always in trouble for having my head in the clouds when everybody else was doing what they were supposed to be doing. So the one to the right has got like this big cloud that its head is in, and the other one just has a little tiny cloud. But so that was kind of the story behind that, like, where is this cloud land? That's the next body of work. I've already started working on the next installation, so Cloudland is one of the next groups. And usually what I do is I'll take something from what I'm working on and take one piece that starts the next series. These guys are all on the back wall, all my little creatures that I just imagined might be scurrying around and hiding in the rocks and under the leaves and in the plants. I really liked to incorporate, mushrooms and leaves and plants and things like that into these. This is my favorite size to work in. These are all little like this, and I just find them, really interesting to make something small like that. This is a video. I don't know if I can make it play that. Oh, yeah. So this is the last piece. This one's called Decompose. And this one is just exploring the idea of, like, once these creatures have lived there, they are going to die, sadly, and then kind of revert back to the land, which is part of what when you grow up in the woods. You will see that kind of thing. So you can see the skull and the grub, and then the other pedestal has a spine, and this little beast has crawled under there and found a cozy place to sleep. So that's it. So really quickly, one other thing I wanted to say is the question I get all the time is like, why do you do this? Why do you make these things? And I mean, I've always played with toys and always loved stuffed animals and just got into that fantasy world of cute and kind of creepy. But it got more pronounced during COVID for me. I just needed that escape to another entire world, and I think that's why I just keep continuing to build these worlds. It's very much, I think we all do that. We look for that place to escape, and this is how my brain processes that. So anyway, thank you so much. Thanks for coming.
Hello, I'm Alfred Groff, and I'm very happy to be here today. I can't wait to show you some of my stuff. I work in, as Corey said, I work in acrylics and ink. I find them very convenient to work with, particularly the acrylics have the vibrant aspect to them, and the ink is very good for making exact edging and so forth. So you'll see that in my paintings. I first put up personal history. This is the first painting I had much of a connection with. My mother took me to see with her when she went to a local artist. She was getting her paintings done, her picture done to give to my father as a special 25th anniversary present. So, but I got to go with her every time to see the artist, and it was kind of an inspiration. I do a lot of travel with my wife and my kids, and also I did it in business as an international tax lawyer. And I've seen a lot of places, and my art kind of reflects a lot of this. These three pictures were shown early on when I started. I did start painting at the age of 13, and I had some good fortune doing that. But later on, I got stuck in this really annoying thing called a career, and so I didn't have much chance to do that. So then I began painting in 2016 after I retired, and one of the things I ran into some people, and I ended up showing some pictures in the Basel art fairs in both New York and Miami. These are the three of those paintings. They're monochromes, and they kind of were inspired by my agent, who said that she really wanted clean, elegant lines. And you'll see they're clean and sharp. This is, now the rest are the pictures I have in the show. This is a picture of a refinery in New Jersey. I think I was inspired partially when I first started as a summer associate at a law firm. I had to take the bus from New Jersey. I was staying with my wife's parents, and I had to take the bus from where they lived to the city, and there were some not too attractive refineries there, but I found it interesting because you can see if you look, you can see something in even the ugliest place. And refineries are pretty ugly, but I loved looking at that and trying to derive the colors and so forth. This is a picture. This picture is based on a visit we paid to New York a few years ago to a friend of ours there, and I looked out from his apartment building, and I saw this gold dome building up in the Gramercy Park area, and just really liked the looks of the buildings, how they play against each other, and the corners and the complexity. This is another one of these. Now, this is not exactly like what I have upstairs. I've modified this picture. You'll see a real difference when you go upstairs. I loved this sky. It just got me, and I love to contrast it, this beautiful sky, with the intensity and the structural aspects of the buildings in front of it. This is an early painting I did fairly early after I started painting again. It's of a harbor in Vancouver. We were cruising in the harbor, and my wife and I were looking around, and I saw all these shapes. Shapes are really speak to me, and obviously the colors are different from the real colors. This is inspired by COVID. I call this Lockdown 2020, and the isolation that people felt during that time. You see everybody's alone except for there are two people who are not alone in this picture, but I don't know where they are. Well, you'll see them when you go upstairs, okay? This is from Lisbon. If you go to Lisbon, it's got wonderful architecture, and it's not just the buildings themselves, the full building, but I just thought the rooftops, with the shapes and the colors of the rooftops, really speak to you. You can see they're very interesting, and the complexity is something that's worth looking at. These two pictures, believe it or not, are of the same scene. The one on the left is the top, the modern part of Baltimore, the commercial center. The second one on the right is the bottom part, the real people part. And you'll see homeless people in it, and you see a bus and people getting on the bus, and garbage on the street. I thought it needed some garbage on the street. But I think it was there anyway. This is just imaginary. Again, this is just a few, actually compared to most of my pictures, this is fairly monochromatic also. It's got 3 colors or 4 colors, but they're all close together. And it's just imaginary, and so I just call it a city in brown, gray, and beige. This is something I saw Pittsburgh at night, driving towards Pittsburgh, looked at it, and took a picture of it, came home, and produced this. Doesn't look anything like the original, the real place. But it was kind of inspired by the darks and the lights of Pittsburgh. This is from Porto. Porto's it's in Portugal, and it's the place where they produce port wine, which is a dessert wine and a wonderful dessert wine. I'm also a wino. And I think that's from having been for 44 years an international tax lawyer. Most of my colleagues have cirrhosis and so didn't continue that long. And so this is Porto, and this is doorsteps. It's the cutest city. I think you should all go there and enjoy some port and look around. This is just something, I guess I found a picture like this somewhere on maybe television, or I don't know exactly where. I just call it City in Daylight. It's one of my more recent pictures. So that's it. I hope you'll go upstairs. I put the stuff up there. When I first talked to Corey about having the show, he said, if you have it downstairs, you can only have it for a month, and if you have it upstairs, you can have it for 2 months. I said, well, I'll take the 2 months. But I don't think anyone will go there because it's upstairs. But in any event, please go upstairs and take a look. And also, look at Annie's stuff. She's got some fabulous stuff in the room next door. Thank you all.